Some new information now on a crisis in one major American city. President Trump sending a message to leaders in Chicago after new reports on violent crime there. The president last night tweeting, "If Chicago doesn't fix the horrible carnage going on, 228 shootings in 2017 with 42 killings, up 24% from 2016, I will send in the feds." Now, that tweet comes after Chicago Mayor Rahm Emanuel, who obviously served in the Obama administration, criticized Mr. Trump for worrying about the size of the crowd at his inauguration. Right now, the Chicago Police Department says since the start of the new year, there have been 186 shooting incidents and 40 murders there. Joining us now is Gregg Jarrett, a Fox News anchor as well as an attorney. So, can the president send federal troops, federal forces into Chicago if he wants to?
Well, there's the Posse Comitatus Act, which generally prohibits federal regular Army troops from being sent into cities and counties for local law enforcement. But there are exceptions. Notably, Eisenhower utilized an exception in 1957 to send in the 101st Airborne into Arkansas to quell the civil rights unrest. In 2006, Congress actually revised the law, so now the president can send in troops. This was the aftermath of Katrina, a reaction to that, in order to restore order whenever local and state authorities cannot do it. But you know, John, there's actually an easier way. All you have to do is federalize the state National Guard. Eisenhower, Kennedy, Johnson all did that. But I think, as you and I were talking during the break, I suspect this would be a move of last resort. There are other things the president can do.
So this may be kind of, pounding on the bully pulpit and trying to get Chicago to clean up its own act, fix its own affairs?
Yeah, I think it may be a reaction to the remarks of Rahm Emanuel, the mayor, that were critical of President Trump. So this is a threat. But look, there are other things that the president can do. He can send in, for example, FBI agents in to be embedded with local law enforcement. That was done in Prince George's County, Maryland, when the violence began to escalate there. He can send in the DEA and the ATF because a lot of the violence there is related to drugs and guns.
I remember when I first moved to New York, 1989, Dinkins administration, you didn't want to walk through Central Park. And in came Rudy Giuliani and a new, police commissioner, and they really cleaned things up. How much of this is a problem at the, at the micro city level?
A lot of it is. For example, one of the things Giuliani did was engage, and successive administrations, engage in stop and frisk, a very aggressive form of it. Chicago tried that for a while. The ACLU complained, threatened to file a lawsuit. Chicago relented and entered into an agreement not to do it. Well, it's time to tear up that agreement. And President Trump can try to force and pressure Chicago into reinstituting stop and frisk by withholding federal funds. When you say, I'm not going to give you $1 billion a year, Chicago, in federal money, what do you bet? They might change their approach.
But what about, does he have control over other personnel? I mean, the prosecutors are local.
Yeah, and that's a key here. The current U.S. attorney, an Obama appointee, has said repeatedly that we can't arrest our way out of violence. That is manifestly absurd and, quite frankly, dumb. What you can do is be more aggressive. Put in a new law and order new U.S. attorney for the Northern District. Somebody who is going to start instituting not just charges against gang members for guns under federal gun law, but racketeering. After all, these gangs are a criminal enterprise run amok. They're the source of all the violence and murders in Chicago. Put them behind bars under federal laws.
New York found when you start arresting people who are jumping the fares at subway turnstiles, you wind up taking a lot of criminals.
No kidding.
Gregg Jarrett.
Absolutely.
All right, interesting.